Am I the a-hole, secretly DNA testing my baby and finding out it's not mine? Before we got to the story, I plan to give away $100 to whoever has the best opinion regarding this matter. So stay tuned, and I'll announce the winner in the few next videos. You only have to post your opinion on the comment below and consider to like and subscribe so that you'll not miss the announcement and many other future giveaway. Thanks, and back to the story. I'm 32 male. Have been married to my wife Sarah for 5 years. We've always had a great relationship, or so I thought. About a year ago, we decided it was time to start a family. After a few months of trying, Sarah got pregnant and we were overjoyed. Throughout the pregnancy, I was the model expectant father. I attended every doctor's appointment, helped with the nursery, and even took birthing classes with Sarah. When our son, Ethan, was born 3 months ago, it was the happiest day of my life. I fell in love with him instantly and have been a dedicated dad ever since. However, there was always this nagging doubt in the back of my mind. You see, Ethan doesn't look anything like me. He has olive skin, dark hair, and brown eyes, while I'm fair-skinned with blonde hair and blue eyes. Sarah has similar coloring to me, so it didn't make sense genetically. At first, I brushed it off as paranoia. Babies often don't look like their parents right away, and I knew mixed genes could produce unexpected results. But as the weeks went by, the resemblance to me didn't increase at all. In fact, Ethan started looking more and more like our neighbor, Mark, 35 M. Mark and his wife moved in next door about a year and a half ago. He's a personal trainer with Italian heritage, explaining his darker features. Sarah and I became good friends with them, often having barbecues together or going out for drinks. I never suspected anything was going on between Sarah and Mark, but now I couldn't shake the suspicion. I know I should have talked to Sarah about my concerns, but I was terrified of accusing her of cheating if I was wrong. So I did something I'm not proud of. I secretly ordered a home DNA paternity test. When Sarah was out running errands with Ethan, I swabbed the inside of his cheek for a sample. I also took my own sample and sent them off to the lab. The wait for the results was agonizing. I felt guilty for going behind Sarah's back, but I needed to know the truth. The results came back yesterday, and my worst fears were confirmed. There's a 0% chance that I'm Ethan's biological father. I've been raising another man's child for the past 3 months, believing he was my own. I'm devastated and don't know what to do. I haven't confronted Sarah yet because I'm afraid of how I'll react. Part of me wants to scream and demand answers, while another part wants to pretend I never found out and continue loving Ethan as my son. But I know that's not sustainable in the long run. I feel betrayed, angry, and heartbroken. The life I thought I had has been shattered, and I'm left picking up the pieces. I know I should talk to Sarah, but I'm paralyzed by fear and indecision. So Reddit, AITA for secretly DNA testing my baby and finding out it's not mine? Should I have trusted my wife and talked to her first? What do I do now? Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thank you all for your comments and advice. I'll try to provide some updates and answers to common questions. First, to address the most frequent comment. Yes, I know I should have talked to Sarah before doing the DNA test. I realize now that was a breach of trust, even if my suspicions turned out to be correct. I was scared and acted impulsively, which I regret. Some of you have asked about Sarah's behavior since Ethan was born. Honestly, she's been a wonderful mother and hasn't acted suspiciously at all. If anything, she's been more loving and attentive to both Ethan and me. This makes the situation even more confusing and painful. As for Mark and his wife, they've been around quite a bit since Ethan was born, always bringing gifts and offering to help. I thought it was just them being good neighbors and friends, but now I'm questioning everything. To those suggesting that Sarah might have been assaulted, or that there could be a medical explanation, like chimerism, I appreciate your perspective. However, given the timing and Ethan's resemblance to Mark, I think infidelity is the most likely explanation. But you're right that I shouldn't jump to conclusions without hearing Sarah's side of the story. Many of you have advised me to lawyer up before confronting Sarah. I'm considering this, but it feels so final. Part of me still hopes there's an explanation that doesn't involve betrayal, as unlikely as that seems. I've taken a few days off work to process everything and figure out my next steps. Sarah knows something is wrong, but I've told her I'm just feeling under the weather. I can't keep up this charade for much longer, though. Some have asked about my feelings towards Ethan now. It's complicated. I still love him. 3 months of caring for him and believing he was my son can't be erased overnight. But there's also a new pain when I look at him, knowing he's a product of my wife's infidelity. I'm struggling to separate my feelings for Ethan from my anger towards Sarah and Mark. I've seen comments suggesting I might still be the father and that home DNA tests can be inaccurate. While I appreciate the optimism, the test I used is highly reliable, 99.99% accuracy, and the results were conclusive. I'm not the biological father. To those calling me an asshole for violating Ethan's and Sarah's privacy with the DNA test, I understand your point. It wasn't the right way to handle my suspicions, and I acknowledge that. Given the results, I hope you can understand the impossible situation I was in. I'm still trying to decide how to proceed. Part of me wants to confront Sarah immediately and get everything out in the open. Another part wants to gather more evidence first, maybe even confirm my suspicions about Mark. And a small, cowardly part of me wants to just pack a bag and disappear. For now, I'm going to take a few more days to clear my head and consult with a lawyer. I need to understand my rights and options before I make any moves. As much as it hurts, I need to protect myself legally and financially. Thank you all for your support and advice, even the harsh comments. This is the hardest thing I've ever gone through, and knowing I'm not alone helps more than you can imagine. I'll update when I have more information or after I've talked to Sarah. Update. It's been a week since my last edit, and a lot has happened. I apologize for the delay in updating. Things have been chaotic. After consulting with a lawyer and gathering my thoughts, I finally confronted Sarah 3 days ago. I sat her down after we put Ethan to bed and told her I knew about the paternity issue. At first, she tried to deny it, but when I mentioned the DNA test, she broke down. Through her tears, Sarah confessed to a brief affair with Mark about a year ago. She swears it only happened once, after a night of heavy drinking, when I was out of town for work. She said she regretted it immediately and ended things with Mark, but then found out she was pregnant a few weeks later. Sarah claims she convinced herself that the baby was mine, but the timing could have worked out. She said she was too scared to tell me about her mistake and risk losing everything. When Ethan was born looking like Mark, she hoped his features would change as he grew. I asked her if Mark knew, and she said no. According to Sarah, he has no idea that Ethan might be his son. She begged me to forgive her and said she loves me and wants to make our marriage work. I'll be honest, I don't know what to feel. Part of me is relieved to finally know the truth, but another part is even more devastated. The fact that it was a drunken one-night stand almost makes it worse than if it had been an ongoing affair. It seems so senseless to throw away our marriage for one night of poor judgment. I told Sarah I needed time to think and have been staying at a hotel for the past few days. She's been blowing up my phone with calls and messages, alternating between apologies, pleas for forgiveness, and promises to make things right. I'm torn about what to do next. My lawyer has advised me on my options regarding divorce and custody, but I'm not sure if that's what I want. Despite everything, I still love Sarah, and the thought of losing her and Ethan is painful. On the other hand, I don't know if I can ever trust her again, and there's the issue of Mark to deal with. Does he have a right to know about Ethan? Do I confront him? The thought of seeing him makes my blood boil. As for Ethan, my feelings are still mixed. I love him, but every time I look at him, I'm reminded of Sarah's betrayal. I know it's not his fault, but it's hard to separate the two. Many of you have suggested therapy, both individual and couples counseling. I think that's probably a good idea, regardless of whether Sarah and I stay together or not. I need help processing all of this. I'm still undecided about our future, but I know I need to make a decision soon. Sarah and I can't live in limbo forever, and it's not fair to Ethan. I'm leaning towards giving our marriage another chance, but with some strict conditions. Complete transparency from Sarah, full access to her phone, email, social media, etc. Couples counseling and individual therapy for both of us. We moved to a different neighborhood, away from Mark and his wife. Sarah must tell Mark the truth about Ethan's paternity. I haven't shared these conditions with Sarah yet. I wanted to get your thoughts first. Am I being too harsh? Not harsh enough? Is there any coming back from this kind of betrayal? Thank you all again for your support and advice. This community has been a lifeline during the worst experience of my life. I'll update again once I've made a final decision about our future.